Welcome back. Suicide is a leading cause of death among young people, and it is mostly driven by undiagnosed depression. What are the signs of depression? What can we do to help if a friend or family member appears to be struggling with depression or suicidal tendencies? We discussed this with Sheikh Yassir Fazaga during his visit to Toronto for the Reviving the Islamic Spirit Convention. Sheikh Yassir is Imam of Orange County Islamic Foundation and Director of Mental Health Department in Anaheim, California. Let's see what he has to say about recognizing the signs of depression. Sheikh Yassir, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So in a previous show, we talked about the broad issue of mental health, and one of the topics that you brought up was the issue of suicide and how it is a leading cause of death amongst the ages of 18 to 25. So I was wondering if we could break that down a little bit. What are the causes that actually, within young people that lead them to commit suicide?
So in the States, statistically speaking, there is one person that takes away their own life every 15 minutes. Around the world, suicide is the 11th leading cause of death amongst people. And what we have said is that 80% of the people who commit a suicide, it was due to undiagnosed depression. And what we want to do is that tell people about what depression is, because this is really, in 80% of the cases, this is what is leading people to commit suicide. And by depression is a mood disorder that mainly has got 9 different symptoms about it. And as much as you can, please, and to the audience as well, try not to psychoanalyze your own family members at this point. The tendency is that, I'm hearing these symptoms and, I see them in my, so please try
I don't have a pen, so I can't do that.
Not do that. But usually what we are looking at is a sense of social isolation that is not explained. By that I mean, maybe it's the finals week. So I understand why people are socially isolated. People are studying. Maybe a person has a project. Maybe they just started a new job. So we're looking for social isolation that is not explained. People not enjoying what they used to enjoy in the past. We always saw them. They always called us. They returned our call. But now they're socially isolated. They no longer take joy in what it is that they were taking joy in previously. We're looking into a change in their sleeping habits. They're sleeping too much. They're sleeping too little. We're looking at a change in their diet. They're eating too much. They're eating too little. They're losing weight, they're gaining weight. We're looking into their level of energy. They just seem to be tired all of the time. Their physical language, their body language is that they just droop most of the time. Their shoulders are down, head down. They just look tired most of the time. We're talking about people who speak about death a good number of the time. People who cry for no good reason. We're looking into people who have got very little tolerance for irritants. They're easily provoked. Inability to concentrate, having poor memory, and overall just an overwhelming sense of sadness. And that is really not them. So if a person has had these 6 of these symptoms for a period of more than 2 weeks without really any life-changing event taking place, then we would say most likely that person is clinically depressed. And it's very important to understand that these symptoms are not related to a life-changing event. Meaning people failing a class. You know what? I really don't want to talk to people when I failed my class. I don't feel like enjoying anything. I'll be crying. I'll be irritated. So that is understandable. People lost a job. People, lost a loved one. People who have gone through divorce. So what happens is that we would say that would be a normal reaction, and at that point, as friends, as family members, we want to give as much support as we can to these people. What we're looking at is if there is no event that explains why this person will be behaving the way that they do, then that is when we really want to reach out and inquire as to why is this happening to them. And I think it's also very important to understand that at this point, the role of friends and family members is very, very critical. What we found out, and because at Access we actually have a grant to give support to survivors of suicide.
This is in the U.S., right?
This is in the U.S. So part of what I do is that we hold support groups, or at least at this point we're still struggling to get a support group of Muslims to speak about, suicide. So I know them as individuals. My dad committed suicide, our son committed suicide. What we're finding out is that a good number of people, prior to them committing suicide, they actually reach out to people. They make a phone call. They post something on Facebook. They text a friend.
This is including the Muslim community as
This
well?
is including the Muslim community as well. Prior to doing it, it's almost like, it's the last chance, like begging for help. I just want to see if somebody can talk me out of it. So they reach out to their friends. And there was actually an interesting story when one person, he was on their way to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. And what they said is that they're walking down the bridge, and they said, if somebody just asks me how I am doing, I will not do it. So he walks by, and there was a couple, and they had their cameras, and they were taking pictures. So they spoke to him. And here's what he said. He said, all they said was, can you please take a picture? But they really did not ask as to how I was doing. So he took the picture, and he continued, and he jumped, and obviously he didn't die, and that's why we know the story that we do. So he jumped. How long does it take from the Golden Gate Bridge to hit the water? Take a guess.
2 seconds?
4 seconds.
Oh, okay, I was close.
4 seconds. That's actually very close. So he decided that he didn't want to die, and he just the way that he jumped, he survived. But I think the key word here is that he said, I wanted somebody to ask, how am I doing? So when we realize these symptoms about our friends, about our family members, I think that what really happens is that we want somebody to just ask us, how am I doing? Have you ever had friends who just they sigh in front of you? It's like, it's an invitation.
Yes.
Oh, what's wrong? What is going on?
Yes.
So many times we make these bids. It's like inviting other people to ask us because we just don't want to come and volunteer the information. And I think that's really when we say that, we have been good friends to our friends.
So just about opening that conversation and being cognizant of people that you're around.
And I would even say, be very open. Ask the person directly. I say, look, I hear this. Are you considering suicide? Don't be afraid of using the word suicide. People think that I don't want to give them ideas. If a friend tells you that they've been thinking about killing themselves, here's what you do. Number 1, continue to talk to them. That's very important. Number 2, let them know that they can trust you. Number 3, ask, do they have a plan? Is this a thought or is this a plan? If it's a plan, that is really serious. I really need to talk to somebody who is, there with you at this point. That person needs to be monitored. They might even be, they might need to go to the hospital. But when a friend, a family member, a coworker lets you know that they're really considering killing themselves, they're entertaining suicide, please take that very, very serious.
This was very informative. Thank you very much, Sheikh Yassir.
Thank you for having me.